Hey there, friends. Pastor Dave here with another weekly devotion for all the saints. Hope you're doing well today. And I want to start us with a reading from Sarah Arthur's Coffee with God to get us thinking today about being tired. I'm exhausted. I've had weeks to catch up on sleep since I returned home from youth camp, but I'm still dead on my feet. Every day we went to bed around midnight, got up by 7 a.m., didn't stop running crazy until we dropped into bed again 17 hours later. I used to live at that pace all the time, especially during my college years, and I always wondered why I felt so crummy waking up in the mornings then, too. The truth is, after a while, that kind of lifestyle takes its toll, which means we have to pay for it eventually. Exhibit A, ever since camp, my days have gone as follows. I crawl out of bed in the mornings long after normal people have left for work. My routine includes a shower, breakfast, coffee, and then a prolonged period of moping in between checking email and attempting to read a book. Generally, I don't get much farther than a few pages before I fall asleep, and then I rally and attempt to do something productive, like wash all 3 dishes in the sink. Then I check email again, then I read some more, and I fall asleep. I just can't seem to summon enough energy for anything else. I think about that story of the disciples in the boat with Jesus crashed in the stern. We wonder how he could have possibly slept through a storm so violent that the boat was getting swamped with waves pouring over the sides and the disciples unable to bail fast enough. The wind must have been horrific too, ripping at the sails, tangling the lines, snatching the words, so the disciples had to shout just to be heard. And still, Jesus slept. All I can think is how tired he must have been. Not just from 2 weeks of intense ministry like my camp, but from 2 years at least, if not more. All day long, he poured himself into the needy, the hurting, the diseased, the lonely. He counseled late-night visitors such as Nicodemus. He got up early to go off by himself and pray. When did he sleep? Not very often, I guess. On boats, apparently, when the rocking of the waves gradually lulled his tired eyes closed. Sheer exhaustion occasionally took over. And yet, the world needed him. The disciples shook him awake, and instead of moping and complaining and falling back asleep again, he summoned the energy to halt the wind and the waves. What kind of man was this, that even his own body obeyed him? Saints, I love these stories about Jesus' humanity, these stories that remind us he was not just the Son of God, he was a flesh and blood human being. And that comes with all the same kinds of limitations that we experience as embodied people. People who get tired, people who get hungry, people who get injured, people who get sick. We recognize that when those things happen to us, it takes it out of us. We are not always capable of giving our best. And I can relate to that, especially in the summer months working with youth. I have experienced the same thing that Sarah has, where we've had a mission trip a couple weeks ago. We've got a Massanetta Middle School trip this week. We've got Vacation Bible School next week. In the midst of all of it, I've been on stage for The Wizard of Oz, which means I've not just been doing the performances, but hours of rehearsals most nights for the past month. It wears on you. There is a lot going on, and I get it. I get what she's talking about when we have too many things and not enough time to take care of ourselves, not enough time for rest, not enough time to just regenerate. We get to a point where we can't give our best anymore. We feel just depleted, not able to do the things that we ought to be able to do. And that's when I come back to these stories about Jesus sleeping in the boat. And I think, it is amazing. Not just that he could command the wind and the waves, but that he could overcome his own bodily limitations, in a sense. He could overcome his exhaustion. He could get back up and continue to serve. Continue to have those late night meetings with Nicodemus or with other people in need. He could continue to respond to those parents who had sick children who wanted healing. He could continue to feed and to care for the people around him, despite having the same limitations that we all experience. Yes, he is Son of God. Yes, there is an aspect of his divinity that perhaps made him more capable of that than we are, but there is at the same time the reality that he chose to follow God's will, even when it was hard, even when he was tired, even when he might have wanted to be doing something else. Jesus made consistent choices to be the person he was called to be. How can we do the same? How can we follow God's call and not allow our limitations to become excuses? That's your devotion for this week. I hope it's helpful and worth thinking about. I hope you are staying healthy because, of course, it does matter. I hope you are finding time for Sabbath rest, taking care of yourself so that you can take care of those around you. And I'll be praying for you, saints. Please keep praying for me. I will see y'all again soon. Take care.